Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville. I'd invite everyone to rise and join Council in singing O Canada. Thank you. Please be seated. As is our custom, I will now give our opening prayer, followed by a moment of silent reflection, after which we will begin our meeting. God, grant us understanding and patience, that justice, truth, and honesty may be evident in our decisions. Make us mindful of the needs of the people throughout the town of Oakville. Help us govern with the wider community in mind, and create in us a desire for progress and responsible action. We ask this in your name. Amen. All right, thank you, everyone. I understand we have regrets, Madam Clerk, from a couple of councillors.
Yes, we have regrets from Councillor Duddick and Councillor Grant this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest, Council? Thank you. How do you wish to deal with the minutes of your previous meetings of December 16th and January 13th? Councillor Elgar moves them. I need a seconder. Councillor Johnston. All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are adopted. We have tonight the pleasure of a little bit of celebration. Where's Cindy Toth? There she is, Miss Toth. Perhaps you'd like to explain the honor that the town has received.
Thank you. It's my pleasure that I'm bringing to Council an award that was received just this past January. It's from the Canadian Safe Boating Council, and we received an award, a national award called Safeguarding the Environment. The town received the award for the work that is being done at the harbors, and we have the key staff involved in that program here tonight. We have Christoph Izakowski, and Tricia Henderson, as well as Chris Mark here. And the Harbors has been working on the Clean Marine program since 2006 and started with an early rating that has been continuously improving over the years till we received now the 5 Diamond. It is the 5 Diamond Award, and it is one of only 6 harbors in Canada that has received this award, and one of the only public marinas in Ontario to receive the award. So we should be very pleased at receiving the Safeguarding the Environment Award.
Thank you, Ms. Toth.
And it is...
I have it right here.
Oh, very good. It's very shiny.
There you go. This way we have no smudges. There may even, and we're zooming in. It's like Bob and Doug. So there you go. I think you had a pretty good shot of it there. I wonder if your colleagues would like to join you at the podium to receive the thanks and appreciation of council.
That would be terrific. We actually have a camera in the audience that might commemorate the occasion.
Well, if you come to the podium, let's do a couple things. If you guys would come to the podium, and right there where the microphone is, and gather around Cindy and look at council. First, council can thank you, and incidentally get a good shot for the people at home, because there's a camera over here looking at you. And council and I will join for a minute of applause to thank you for the honor that you brought to town. And now you just have to pivot, and Jane can get your picture.
Thank you. Thank you.
There you go. There's a smooth operation if I ever saw one. Thank you very much. Now, while we're doing presentations, we have another guest tonight, and that guest has a presentation for us on a cause that's near and dear to every member of council and this community, and that is the United Way of Oakville. And if you'll turn your attention to the main podium, we will be joined by Tim Johnston, who is the chair of the campaign cabinet for this year's United Way campaign. Tim, thank you on behalf of the town for taking on the job, and we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mayor Burton and members of council. It is my great pleasure to be here to give you an overview of this year's campaign for United Way of Oakville. My name is Tim Johnston. I am campaign chair this year. I have been a senior United Way volunteer for over 7 years. I joined the board in 2007. I've been on the Finance and Audit Committee. I've been chair of the board for 3 years, and I've really taken on the campaign chair role this year as my last real role at United Way of Oakville, and it is truly my honor to be doing it. During my time on the board, United Way of Oakville has built new community relationships. We've stewarded new and existing donors, and we continue to help those in need in our community. And it's really helping those in need in our community is why I've taken on the campaign this year. And our goal for this year is $4.35 million to put back into the community. And it is critical. As you know, our needs continue to grow. United Way is the largest funder of social services in Oakville, aside from government. Our community fund supports people from all walks of life when they meet challenges, and everyone meets challenges in their lives, and really United Way is there to assist and really to allow them to prosper in the future. Last year, we funded 33 agencies that ran 54 different programs in our community, and these programs touched more than 30,000 lives. I'm a finance person with my day job, and so I think of United Way of Oakville as really an investment that pays dividends on an ongoing basis. And I would say that we are excellent stewards of donations. We really put the money back into the community where it is in greatest need and where it will see the greatest benefit. Our community fund supports programs in Oakville that focus on the three key target areas: from poverty to possibility, all that kids can be, and healthy people, stronger communities. And I'm here tonight to really ask you for your help. Change starts here. It starts with you. And really, we all have the power to inspire and the power to make it a better tomorrow for all the citizens of Oakville. On behalf of United Way of Oakville and our funded agencies, I'm really seeking both your help and really just to engage the broader community to help us reach our 2013 campaign goal. And it's critical that we bring the financial support to these human service programs. Just to give you a sense of the challenges that we see in our community, as we think about it, we all know that thousands go without food. that many people are shut in or they don't have a place to call home. And just to give you some perspectives, I'll try not to layer in too many stats here, but as we think about this recent holiday period, the reality is that almost 20,000 people were food insecure, so they did not know where their next meal was coming from. An individual or a family with an immediate housing need gets put on a waiting list. That waiting list is now almost 2,000 people strong. And over 1,000 people reached out to our distress centers. And so these are the people that we're really reaching from our funded agency perspective and the programs that they run every day. Your gift to United Way of Oakville is really to help us address these needs. It's delivering fresh food to families, supporting isolated seniors, and making sure that individuals suffering from mental illness and other challenges, depression, anxiety, are getting the assistance they need. But quite frankly, it goes much beyond that. And I would just say that United Way is not just a Band-Aid solution. What we are seeking to do is really take a long-term investment perspective and really try and hit these issues and make a great impact with community impact on a go-forward basis. And it's really about long-term community impact. The areas that we're investing in that is really going to, hopefully reduce these issues and challenges that our members of our community are dealing with. So, I would say that United Way is a local community charity. Money raised in this community goes right back into our community, and I think that's really the most powerful thing about United Way of Oakville. It's really, our neighborhoods, our community, and ultimately our town, and I think that's really what we're seeking to improve. I think when we think about the programs that United Way of Oakville is funding, we are investing in individuals, and it's really the community that will then prosper. So I thank you for your attention this evening. I do continue to, we continue to move forward. In a month's time, we will be announcing the achievement of our goal. I say that with great confidence because while we are not there today, I have great confidence that we will narrow the gap that we've got to our $4.35 million goal. It is with all your help, your engagement in our community where we can certainly reach that goal, and I would say we're close enough that we can feel that we will reach our goal for 2013. Susan Kulkarni is standing beside me. Susan is the liaison with the town of Oakville, works very hard with staff and with everyone else to really engage the town of Oakville. It is a very successful campaign, and again, I just ask you to help us reach our goal that we are very close to meeting for 2013. Mayor Burton, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim, for the report and the presentation. And just to underline the point, isn't that target a record-breaking high target for the United Way?
It is. Certainly wasn't going to be my year where I set a target lower than the prior year. We're up our target's up 5% from last year, and it's, I would say even it being record-setting, I would say that we won't meet all the needs of our community, but we'll make a very good run at them.
Well, thank you very much, and everyone on council, I'm sure, joins me in congratulating you on the work you've done, and thank you, Susan.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to give you an example of just how hard the town works. We've got Gord here, who has always been our leadership chair, which is a wonderful job that he does, and he does with a smile, even when it's painful. We have Neil sitting at the back as well, and he works with Lynn Rogers. And poor Lynn this year had the onerous task of visiting all the fire stations to talk about United Way and how it helps out. And so, everyone's putting all that they can into the campaign, so we thank everyone very much for that.
And thank you. Good night. All right, council. We now have one listed delegation for tonight's agenda, and I see our delegate here. If you would join me in welcoming Daniela Morowitz to the podium. Welcome, Ms. Morowitz, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming tonight. Council and I look forward to your information.
Thank you, Your Worship, councillors, staff. Good to see you all. Hasn't been here for a while. Just came here tonight to speak very briefly on the topic of the Lynbrook site proposal and the sale of the property. Sorry, I'm still cold from walking in from the parking lot. The only, obviously for confidential reasons, the report is a bit short on detail and a little long on sweeping statements about protecting the neighborhood and the community. And we are very supportive of the proposal moving forward and something happening as soon as possible to get on with finishing off that site and getting that school up and operational. But the one thing we do ask is we would like some formalization of a process by which the community can have input to issues that arise from the schools and the operations of the schools in that area. And whether it be, I leave it up, I have very loose suggestions in that regard as far as some sort of a committee that would involve one or two local neighbors, a representative from the Residents Association, perhaps one of the councillors, if we did something along those lines and have it as a formal liaison group and that meets on a, doesn't have to be terribly frequently, but on a regular basis to deal with issues that come up and to give some support to individual neighbors who have issues with the school. So I would only ask that, I know there is a three-party agreement that the town is entering into. Whether that can be formalized in some way as part of that, I don't know, but that's our request.
If I see the proponent for the school here, if I understood your request, would it suffice if we were to ask and if she were to agree to create such a committee in cooperation with you and your ratepayer group? Would that satisfy?
That would be a good start. Yes, I'd like to, like I said, have some of the neighbors, the direct neighbors involved as well. If we have volunteers from the neighborhood that would like to participate in that process, yes.
Okay. Ms. Way, would you indicate you could shake your head up or down or back and forth if you're interested in working with the ratepayers group on this in this way?
And I'd also hope that we could have the same sort of an arrangement with St. Mildred's, because I know there have been issues over the years,
Well,
as you all know.
We'll support any approach you might make with Millie's, although we, of course, have no way to compel them to do anything in this matter. But we certainly would encourage them to participate with you.
Very well, thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Council? That brings us, if you have no questions of the delegation, then it brings us to your standing committee reports for community services for January 20th and administrative services of January 20th. Councillor Khan. Councillor Khan moves adoption of those reports. Councillor Knoll seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any. Your work from last week is now final. We have no consent items, but we do have several discussion items, and we always look forward each year to this discussion. If we give our attention to Jane Courtemanche, who is the Director of Strategy, Policy, and Communications, she will bring us up to date on our 4-year strategic work plan and the recommendations for the final year. Ms. Courtemanche, we're all ears.
Thank you very much, Mayor Burton, and good evening. I'm pleased to present you with it's actually our final Vision 2057 and strategic plan update for this term of council. As you may recall, in 2006 and again in 2010, council adopted a mission-driven approach to creating its 4-year strategic work plan. This means that our vision, mission, and values drive our strategic planning. And then in 2011, council approved the Vision 2057 community framework to ensure that the decisions being made during this term of council support a sustainable community for the future. Specifically, we chose Vision 2057 because, as you may know, in 2057 we'll be marking the town's bicentennial. Vision 2057 starts obviously with the vision and guiding principles established in some of the town's key planning documents. The Town of Oakville Strategic Plan, which, as you know, our vision is to be the most livable town in Canada, as well as the Livable Oakville Official Plan principles. But it's not just the actions of the town that will ensure a sustainable future. The community has an equally important role in helping the town achieve its vision to be the most livable town in Canada. Mapping out the role played by the community, meaning our residents, our businesses, social service providers, volunteers, and other community leaders, is what's driving the development of the local community sustainability plan. This has been a key initiative during this term of council, and Cindy Toth, who is leading this initiative, will be reporting to council later this year on the results to date of the community engagement process. Much like the strategic plan and our official plan, the local community sustainability plan will be a living document that will be open to change as new opportunities arise. As we move down in time frame, for the next 4 to 25 years, the key strategic directions outlined under Vision 2057 relate to creating, living, affording, and preserving our community of the future. These 4 directions encompass all the major planning initiatives completed during this term of council that set out this future. Staff from across departments have worked together with the public to create these plans. Now, I will flag that some of these plans are still under development, and you'll see, such as the downtown plan and in-zone, which will be very shortly coming to council. But all of them together help map out the strategies required to meet the needs of the community today, as well as mapping out strategies to meet the challenges of future growth. None of these initiatives is truly ever over. Staff will continue to work together with the community to review these plans, and as you know, many of them have built-in 5-year reviews, and will provide updates on these plans to future councils. But for any member of the public who's interested in understanding the directions that this council is taking that will guide us not only now but in the future, Vision 2057, this information is brought together on our website. Within a shorter time frame, within this term of council, Council sets its direction for the organization and for departments through its 4-year strategic plan. And then every year, departments set out how we can achieve your goals through our annual budgets and departmental business plans. This ensures that our strategic plan is integrated into departmental business and also into the performance objectives of our staff. And this keeps staff and council working together towards the same goals. None of what the town does could be achieved, though, without a strong foundation of public engagement, performance measurement, information systems and data management, and that's really our business intelligence, and our employee engagement. And I just really want to emphasize, by public engagement, this town doesn't mean a public meeting. The town has embraced a whole toolkit of strategies and techniques to achieve desired outcomes from the community, from informing to consulting to involving and collaborating and even empowering our community. We're very lucky in Oakville to have such an engaged community, and as our citizen survey shows and our employee survey shows, we have engaged public and we also have engaged employees, and this is working together to support council in its goals. Each one of these foundation pieces contributes to the overall success of the town and ensures that we remain on track to achieve your priorities. And just as a refresher, as you recall, in 2011, Council adopted these 8 priority goals for this term of council. And within the report, you'll see I've brought together the achievements over the 4-year term of council in each of these areas. Now, there are other goals that staff is working towards that were also established by the mission, vision, and values. And these are also reported out by staff through its strategic plan update. So far, staff has reported back to council every year on the progress to date, and we also affirmed the initiatives for the upcoming year. And a quick summary of these annual outcomes, as I said, is attached in this report. And tomorrow, in your boxes, you'll receive our 2013 accomplishments booklet, which really highlights in a little bit more detail the town's accomplishments over the past year. This information is also available online. So now I'd like to walk you through some of the key initiatives from 2013, as well as what we'll be doing in 2014 for each of those 8 areas. The first is to enhance our economic environment. A strong local economy is a pillar of sustainability, and the town recognizes the role of our business community in achieving this goal. From supporting the RBC Canadian Open, to developing a business action plan for Bronte and a pilot community improvement plan for Kerr Street, the town is committed to working together with the business community to strengthen our economy. In 2014, the town will explore opportunities for a life sciences and technology district around the new hospital, as well as exploring opportunities for brownfield redevelopment. A more extensive list of the key initiatives is also included in the report. I'm just highlighting a few of the initiatives underway. To enhance our social environment, just last December, almost 500 people attended the launch of the Downtown Plan. And that speaks to how much this community values culture as a key driver for a sustainable future for this community. The community is also working with the town to review options for the Oakville Arena and the current hospital site. Again, there's a high level of engagement on these initiatives that will improve our social environment. Recognizing our veterans has also been a key accomplishment of this council, and the unveiling of the final memorial wall at St. George's Square, which honored residents serving Canada after World War II, completed this beautiful tribute to our veterans. In 2014, we'll continue on with the consultation for the Downtown Plan, as well as looking at other events that can strengthen our community. As noted in Vision 2057, affordability is always a consideration for Council. Council recently responded to the province's request for feedback on development charges with a call to ensure that growth pays for the costs of growth. And this is very relevant, as the DC study that was approved by Council last March estimated that the net cost to finance planned growth infrastructure exceeds $208 million. Lots of times people don't understand how important the development charges bylaw is, and staff will continue to work to ensure that this, that we maximize what we can achieve through development charges. We'll also be beginning preparations for the 2015 budget process, again reflecting Council's direction to keep increases in line with the overall rate of inflation, but that budget will obviously be the purview of the next Council. You'll also be hearing a little bit later on what we're doing around the recovery of ice storm costs. To be environmentally sustainable, this is obviously a critical goal of this Council and a critical goal of this community. As the recent ice storm showed, the effects of weather can be quite substantial on our environment. These things aren't planned, and yet they can impact your work plan quite a bit. The town's natural environment is also battling invasive species, and this is going to become more important as we move forward. We already know about the emerald ash borer, and Council has certainly been very supportive in supporting our efforts to treat the trees to combat this disease. We're also treating trees because gypsy moth is expected to come back and peak within the next year. And then there's invasive plants such as the giant hogweed that are also putting a burden on staff and ensuring that we battle these species. Community partnerships are critical to achieving this goal of being environmentally sustainable, and we'll hear more about what the community can do through the local community sustainability plan. But right now, community partnerships to support tree planting are a critical component of our efforts to achieve the 40% canopy goal that Council has established in our urban forest strategic management plan. The town is always committed to improving our programs and services, and I would add our infrastructure as well. Our citizen survey is a key tool to help us measure our progress towards this goal, and it also helps us identify what citizens think we're doing well and what we need to improve on. In the most recent survey in 2013, 87% of our residents approved of the performance of its municipal government. And I don't need to tell you that this is very high amongst your counterparts and certainly amongst other levels of government. So it's something to be very proud of in the town of Oakville. This doesn't mean we are complacent. The town continues to invest in infrastructure, in technology, and in new programs and services to ensure that we are meeting the customers' demands now and in the future, and I've highlighted a few of those initiatives on this slide. One of the ways we satisfy our citizens is through outstanding service to our residents and our businesses. And the most probably visible signal of our commitment is as you enter Town Hall, where we've recently opened our new Accessible Service Oakville Contact Center. Its accessible features ensure a positive customer experience for all our residents, and it will expand into more channels as the year goes on. And particularly, we'll be expanding our online businesses, and it will ensure that public can access the service it needs and it wants through the channel that it prefers, whether it be telephone or online or in person. This commitment to customer first is shaping the service provided by all departments, not just Service Oakville. And you'll see this through initiatives such as e-post and online newsletters that we're embracing technology to help us in delivering our business. We will be reporting to Council in March on some of these new online tools. This Council has demonstrated its commitment to accountability throughout the past 4 years. We've released our Council expenses online, and the Council's closed meeting statistics report is really the most comprehensive report done by a municipality in Ontario. It also showed that this Council spends less than 6% of its time in closed meetings, and that report also demonstrated why you go to closed meetings and ensured that we are transparent in all our Council's dealings. This commitment will be further supported this year with the launch of our Open Data pilot project in the spring of 2014, and we'll also be taking to the public the Ethics and Efficiency Hotline that we launched for employees this year. So that will provide the public with another way to engage with the town. All of what we've been doing and what we've been talking about is leading towards our vision to be the most livable town in Canada. All of these initiatives drive this vision, and Vision 2057 is the framework that helps the community understand how all these initiatives work together. Obviously, there are a lot of initiatives going on at any one time, and because of our commitment to public engagement, we can be out in the community on several topics within the same week. And so we're really striving to help the public understand how these initiatives work together. Our Livable Oakville planning studies and our in-zone bylaw are going to be the detailed guide to our future, and those will be coming forward to Council this year. And our commitment to public engagement will ensure that throughout the rest of this year and throughout the future, that we're going to work hand in hand with the community to help Council achieve its goals. Thank you, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you for the comprehensive report. Councillor Khan and then Councillor Elgar.
Thank you very much. Just two small questions. One deals with the ethics hotline. Maybe these are premature and we haven't thought this through, but how are we going to ensure the independence of that, and how are we contemplating that will roll out? And the second question was with the reporting a problem online. What are we envisioning for these two items?
And through you, Mr. Mayor, we will be reporting to Council on March on those two items and how they're working together. We piloted the Ethics and Efficiency Hotline this year internally just so we could work through those nuts and bolts and make sure we'd be ready to roll it out to the public, but it is a third-party provider, so that's how we manage that. The Report a Problem is a tool that we're working on internally, and we'll be sharing that with you in March.
Councillor Elgar.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the report. There was one part in it that you mentioned about how to make sure growth pays for growth. I wonder whether we could, like going forward, whether we kind of change that so people understand it's growth that pays for growth to the degree we can, based on the shackles that have been put on us by the province from 1997. I'm wondering whether maybe staff could explain what changed in the DC Act, which actually didn't help us a lot. It gutted us from being able to gutted the Act in order to make the residents pay for growth to a degree.
So, Councillor, in the public report at the last P&D, of course, all of that is laid out. As well, we now have reports from the Finance Department, we have reports, we have town reports quantifying the amount per year that we're subsidizing growth, as well as matching reports showing the amount per year that we're forced to subsidize growth from the region. So maybe, could I just suggest that you reframe your suggestion as that we always bring those as, you know, they become an always mentioned part of a report when we discuss growth? Is that
I would really
be-
appreciate that, because I wouldn't want anybody watching TV tonight to get the misunderstanding that growth pays for growth.
Right. And for my part, since it took us quite a long time to get that work done, we have an interest in making sure that it doesn't get lost or forgotten. So let's flaunt it, so to speak. Any other questions for Ms. Courtemanche? Thank you very much for the report. Thank you, Mr. Green, and all of those who work for us for the outstanding work on our plan and the achievement of its goals. Council, a mover and seconder to receive the report would be in order. Councillor Lapworth and Councillor Adams, all those in favor? Opposed if any, and that is carried. Now, we come to a pretty big moment in our history. This is the ice storm recovery report. I think we've discovered a tongue twister from the Commissioner of Community Services. And let me just set the table for this. I'm pretty sure, based on talking to all the experienced people that I can find, that this might have been the most severe weather event that our town has had in 35 years. Who wants to stand up to that, the way we stood up to it in the first place? Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'm very pleased to provide you with a progress report on how we initially responded to the ice storm and what efforts we're doing right now to improve the situation. As you know, on December 21st, we sustained one of the worst ice storms in the history of the Greater Toronto Area. In Oakville in particular, roads, sidewalks, and people's personal driveways were completely impassable. And at the immediate aftermath of the storm, 29,000 households were without power. As you can see from these images, the level of destruction was quite extraordinary. We had crews in overnight from our roads crew who had already done prep work on our streets in anticipation of the ice storm, but no one could possibly imagine what we were going to actually see. We had forestry crews who came in at 2:30 in the morning on December 22nd, and by 7 o'clock in the morning, I can safely say that we had a very good understanding of exactly what was happening in our community. Very early on December 22nd, we actually set up what's known as a virtual EOC, and that was made up of staff from the following groups: Roads and Works, Oakville Hydro, Parks and Open Space, Recreation and Culture, Transit, Fire Services, Service Oakville, and when appropriate, we also connected with Halton Region as well. So once we had set up the EOC, as you can attest, we spoke on a regular basis via conference call, and we provided immediate updates to council immediately following those calls so that you always were aware of what was happening. Service Oakville opened at 10:30 on Sunday morning. They were on standby in anticipation of the storm, and I think they deserve some special accolades because they worked from 10:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night without power or heat at Town Hall. So I think that their commitment was quite extraordinary, to say the least. At 11:30 a.m., we issued a significant event declaration, and the reason for that was so that we could extend the shift hours for our crews so they could continue and accelerate the recovery effort as much as possible. We also made public safety communications a top priority. As you know, the roads and sidewalks were not passable, and we were concerned about citizen safety, so we wanted to make sure that we had communications out on a regular basis via press release and tweets so that people knew what was happening at all times. By the end of, or early on December 23rd, Roads and Crews Works had applied 2,300 tons of salt. That is 5 times the normal amount used for a regular winter event, which certainly speaks to the magnitude of the storm. Our forestry crews responded to 1,924 work orders. By comparison, in the summertime during that horrible summer storm that we sustained, they had 356 work orders in the same time period. And as you can see from this map, it was pretty widespread and universal across the entire community except for the extreme western perimeter. Fire services answered 215 calls. In a same period in previous years, they would have answered 30 to 40. We opened 3 warming centers at Iroquois Ridge, Glen Abbey, and QEP. And while we didn't have anyone take advantage of those services, and also Councillor Khan offered the use of his home as well, we did have a number of people who did come and use our shower facilities. So people were concerned about the safety of their house, but they definitely needed to use our facilities, so we were very pleased to have them open. We did close our trail entrances and woodlot entrances on December 23rd because we simply did not have enough resources to redeploy from the more urgent need to clear streets and sidewalks and people's driveways. Early on December 23rd, an early holiday gift for everyone, Godrich and London Hydro appeared with crews, and that certainly accelerated everyone's efforts to bring power back to our residents. Halton Region had contacted us the same day and asked if we could loan 2 buses from Oakville Transit to transport seniors to a warming center in Georgetown, and we were pleased to provide that service. And by midnight on December 24th, only 30 customers were left to reconnect. So we're very proud of the combined efforts of Oakville Hydro, Forestry, Roads, and external contractors and the Godrich and London Hydro crews. So in terms of stats, sort of immediately following the storm, we had to clear 1,900 lane kilometers of road, 900 kilometers of sidewalk, that we sanded, salted, and inspected for hanging limbs. Over 2,500 calls were received by Service Oakville. They came in on Boxing Day and New Year's Eve and just did an absolutely extraordinary job. And I think reassured citizens to a very large extent that there was a live voice who would be hearing what their problems were. And we have over 2,000 plus work orders for forestry staff. And I should contextualize this. This is before we've inspected the trails and the woodlots. So this is just from the roads and area immediately surrounding. So I anticipate that number is going to go up quite drastically over the next few weeks. And I should also like to acknowledge that many staff worked extended shifts from December 22nd right the way through to January 3rd, including Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and New Year's Day. The number of people who volunteered their services away from their family and friends on those days was just extraordinary, and they were really proud to do it, and I think it speaks to the commitment of our staff. Ongoing recovery, where are we at right now? Well, we have 1,040 kilometers of fence line that's shared between private and public property. We have not been able to inspect that, so we're calling upon the public to assist us in identifying where we have hangers and other tree hazards, and if they can contact Service Oakville, please direct them there. Our trails and woodlots remain closed at this time because of safety hazards. As you can see from this particular image on Munns Creek Trail, there's a number of tree debris that is there. We're very concerned about people's safety. Staff put caution tape and signs up at all of the major trail entrances, but members of the public have been taking down the caution tape and going through, and we would really ask that they not do that, and where you see caution tape down, if residents could report it again to Service Oakville so that we can reestablish it. It's extremely important because we don't know how safe those trails actually are at this point in time. So in terms of recovery timeline, obviously we've gone through phase 1, and I'm very proud of our efforts in that area. From January 5th to September 2014, we will be involved with debris cleanup. That's an estimate at this time because, again, we still don't know about the level of damage in woodlots and trails, so that number may extend in terms of time. Just to give you a comparator, when we did the summer storm, it took several months into mid-fall before we had the debris fully cleaned up. So we anticipate that it's going to be a lot longer because this storm damage is probably 4 to 5 times the size of the summer storm. And then once we've sorted out all of the debris cleanup, then we can move to corrective pruning, takedowns, logging, stumping, and replanting. I'll be honest in saying that we really feel that the lion's share of our replanting will probably take place in 2015. There will be some initial work done in 2014, but we're certainly going to be looking to the community to assist us with replanting in 2015. Recovery costs, our known costs right now are $658,000, of which $569,000 are eligible potentially for disaster relief funding from the province. Our cost estimates so far are at $2.7 million. However, again, the woodlot and trail issue is an unknown, and I expect that those costs will probably go up. One thing we did want to really acknowledge was the incredible positive response that we got in terms of the relief efforts. The public was absolutely extraordinary in their support. The wonderful things that they wrote about our staff and their efforts was very much appreciated. And I also want to thank Council for your support during the storm and the aftermath as well, in terms of providing us very precise information so staff could go and investigate. So I really appreciate that. And I thought from just a final note, this is just a picture of 2 of our very dedicated work crews who came out on Christmas and Boxing Day to accelerate the relief effort. So I thought we should acknowledge them as well. So thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. Councillor Giddings.
Well, and thumbs up to you and your staff for all the efforts through some very trying times. You mentioned that there are over 2,000 work orders in place that have been received. Any sense of when the trails and woodlots are looked at in terms of what you expect to see in terms of damage?
Well, we're going into the trails and woodlots and starting in the next couple of weeks, and we anticipate that there will be quite a bit of damage. One of the issues that Chris Mark has identified to me is the level of damage sustained by ash trees. Even where they've been treated, a number of them were not able to survive the storm, and we anticipate that ash trees that were not obviously treated are going to pose a fairly significant hazard. So we're quite concerned about that.
I understand. In terms of the best way for residents to let us know about the brush that they're taking out is through Service Oakville?
Yes, please.
Is it necessary for them to let Service Oakville know, or as the trucks driving zone to zone, will they pick up their neighbors as well?
I'm assuming that they would, yes.
All right, thank you.
So I guess the message there is they don't have to, but we don't mind if they do. We're always glad to hear from our residents. Councillor Khan?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank the staff for doing an incredible job, and obviously Oakville Hydro as well, and Rob Lister. Driving from Oakville to my office in Toronto every morning, it was just amazing seeing that, especially around the High Park area, the lights were all out. And then driving back to Oakville, it felt like I was coming back to civilization. So great job. On your report, you talked about the damage to the tree canopy, and I think Councillor Giddings hit on this. Do we have a rough idea of what we lost in terms of the tree canopy?
At this point in time, it's too early to tell. However, we are doing an ongoing tree inventory as we fulfill the work orders, and we'll be able to report back on that.
And also, you talked about the crews coming down from Godridge and London, and I understand we sent our crews out too. What is that relationship? Do we pay for these crews coming in, or is there some sort of treaty that we have on an as-need basis?
I wouldn't be able to speak to the hydro question. I would have to ask Rob Lister to speak to that.
An hour.
We've covered it before. We pay, and when we go, we get paid. It's a cost recovery thing.
Thank you. Just just flip through here. Right, here's one of the questions that I had, and it says on page 65 of your report, every event is an opportunity to learn and improve. Staff gained some key insights from this major storm event and will be making enhancements to operations. So what, I guess maybe this question might be for Ray, but what have we learned from the storm? How are we better today as a result of the storm?
Through you, Mayor Burton, I think one of the key things that we've talked about in our debriefing is perhaps more effort put into pre-event planning. For example, in this particular event, there was discussion, and it's always easy to say, well, it's the weatherman forecasting bad weather. And I think one of the things, when you look at certain storms, there were probably some steps that we could have taken earlier, such as Service Oakville had them arranged earlier. So we have resources that I think we could have programmed a little bit better earlier. So that was one of the key things. Certainly making use of Service Oakville. And I think if there was any enhancement that was added to our storm response, it was Service Oakville. I think the fact that people were able to get a live body on a Sunday afternoon, on Boxing Day, on New Year's Eve. So the one thing we learned there, the importance of being able to speak live, real time with people.
While I have you standing, one of the recommendations is to go past our current spending limit of $500,000. And it doesn't set a number to that. What are you asking for?
Well, these are unbudgeted funds, as you know. They're not included in the 2014 budget. What you're doing here is authorizing, these are contracts that we'll be calling, and this is the authority to enter into these contracts as time goes by. The total amount that we're anticipating is up around the $2.7 million. So as we go forward, there will be need to call tenders, and we're looking for that authority with unbudgeted funds at this time.
I see. So this is going forward. This is not on an annual basis that you
No,
want.
this is only on the going forward to deal with this
Just to deal with.
event.
Okay, thank you.
And Mayor Burton, if I could add to Councillor Giddings' question about residents and pickup of brush. The Region of Halton for the next, I believe, about 4 weeks, will continue the yard waste that residents enjoy during the summer months, which picks up the smaller piles of yard waste. And that will continue for at least the next 4 weeks. The town crews are dealing with the larger limbs that are 3 inches, 6 inches, 12 inches. Those are the limbs that we're picking up. And as you say, as we go by and see those, we'll take the one that called in and the next one that's beside it and the next one beside it and the next one down the street from that. All the streets are being patrolled.
And I hope everyone notices the distinction. We have 2 arms working on this. One is equipped to pick up the big stuff. The other is equipped to pick up the brush. It'll all get caught in the end. Councillor Robinson.
Thank your worship. 2 questions. One on the finances that Councillor Khan was talking about. So we have a budget of $500 million, $500,000, right?
No, we don't have a budget.
What is that 500,000?
This is permitting the staff to enter into new contracts beyond that amount, which are currently unbudgeted. So these are contracts that make up that $2.7 million, which at this point in time is an unfunded liability, but that will be coming back to council once we hear from the province and the feds on the ODRAP funding.
Well, but as you were going through the procedure here, we heard that we may get $589,000 from the province. Did I get that right?
That's on the initial work to date that is eligible under the ODRAP disaster relief.
But then there was also a cost factor mentioned of $658,000, and I have no idea what that was.
So the $658,000 is the cost that we know right now, of which $569 is potentially eligible for provincial funding. We're waiting to hear from the province on whether or not they're going to cover any of that or not. And then the $2.7 million is what we estimate is the storm will cost overall, but that's still a soft number at this point.
So 2.7 million possibly overall,
Yeah.
and we may get reimbursed 589,000 from the province. We may.
No. Of the 600 or so that we know about now,
Right.
over 500 appears to be eligible for disaster relief funding,
Okay.
but there's more to be found out, up to about 2.7 million, we think. And the amount that will be covered by the province, we don't know yet. Could be far more than the 500. It's too soon to be going and trying to do the math
So
you're
we
trying
really-
to do.
We really don't know yet, your worship, what it's going to cost.
Exactly.
Okay. So thank you. I'm clear. As clear as anybody could be now on this. And my last question, on the work order map you show here, dots all over the place, except out in West Oakville, Lakeshore Woods, there's a total of only 6 work orders.
That's just for roads, specifically.
Well, they have a great reputation out there of complaining a lot about things, and I'm just wondering what's so good about it now that, what,
Maybe the storm skipped over them.
Yeah.
but what, why is that? Why is it so low compared to the rest of the town?
So the work orders would have been generated by calls to Service Oakville
Right.
from residents. So
Right.
once the request has gone through, the field crews do an assessment and generates a work order.
Councillor,
Yeah.
Councillor, you almost sound competitive. Mr. Green.
Through you, first of all, it's a much newer area with more immature trees and perhaps a species of tree. So I think that's really what it is down there.
Well, thank you. That's good news. Thanks.
Well, I have no doubt that you'll be out there ginning up some contacts,
Well, I have been.
getting your numbers up. Councillor Elgar, you're next.
Thank you. Thank you for coming forward with the report. So one question is, is staff considering coming up with some kind of a subsidy for private landowners to plant trees to help increase the tree canopy at this point in time? I understand other municipalities are looking at that. I think some are saying like we give $50 if you'll plant a tree on your private property to try to, to get the tree canopy started to come back again.
Through you, Mayor Burton, certainly we've had discussions about that as staff on a very preliminary basis. At some point, probably over the next 2 to 3 months, we'll be coming forward with perhaps much finer numbers and what the amount of damage, and we can look at that as an option within that report when we come back to council.
I appreciate that. So you do not need a report for us to ask for a report
No,
from staff?
we've
You're already looking at it?
identified that as an issue that we should cover in a staff report.
I thank you very much. Thanks.
And to follow on that, Council, I've had discussions with 2 major corporations who, for many years, have been in the business of promoting tree planting, and they're talking about upping their participation. So help may be available from a number of directions. Councillor Demoff?
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for the outstanding job that you did. I'll add my voice to the rest of council. I wonder if either Ray or Colleen could address, and I know it's something you're working on, seniors who had expressed concerns about being in apartment buildings or worried about what the evacuation plan would be. And I know that there is one, but it hasn't been communicated out to the public probably as well as maybe we could have, and that's something I know you're considering going forward. But I wonder if you could maybe address or reassure people that there is a plan and what we're doing about that.
Through you, Mayor Burton, certainly large evacuation is a part of the town's plan and the regional plan. In the case of Halton Hills, the regional Halton actually implemented the evacuation plan on a number of seniors' residents. But what we've become aware of through councillors Demoff and Dudek is an interest on the part of property managers and landlords of multi-story buildings to learn more about evacuation. And so, in fact, today I was speaking with the CAO at the region of Halton, and this is something that the region's going to look at doing perhaps regional-wide, and the initial one will be working with the town of Oakville so that we can get the word out about how evacuations work within our various plans, keeping in mind, though, that each building is required under the fire code and that to have evacuation plans, but it's how do they integrate in with the regional and the town plans is what we'll be looking at, so that it's more information type sessions.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you for the question, Councillor DeMoff. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Worship. Without making it a 13-member thank you brigade, I do want to take 2 seconds to say that in 13 years on council, this is probably the best level of communications that I've had as a councillor, and I imagine my colleagues feel the same way in terms of being equipped with the information from particularly you, Commissioner, as well as the staff. It was an amazing job, because sometimes as a councillor, you're sort of, no pun intended, left in the dark, and constituents are asking questions and you can't respond, but the communications were exceptional this time, so thank you very much for that. And also amazing use of social media. That was outstanding. It was like the campfire story of social media, where not everybody follows the town of Oakville, but by the time the town of Oakville tweets made the whole circle, your network expanded exponentially, and it was outstanding. And one last thing I just wanted to say thank you to, because although we're very proud of our staff and the staff at Hydro, the one thing that I noted and I'm really excited by, and I wish that there were stories about it in the media, but there was a huge part the public played in terms of kindness and helping out their neighbors throughout this process. And I was aware of it on a number of occasions where I heard about it as it was happening and after the fact, and even maybe I helped connect a couple of people together. But it was amazing how the people of Oakville came together to help each other out through this process too, whether it had been Councillor Khan sharing his shower or whatever, other neighbors checking on their senior neighbors or whatever the case is. It was incredible. My comments do come down to a question. First, a quick comment on a précis to the question. The only concern that I did see in social media and comments, the only concern, and this I don't want this to overshadow anything else, was the lack of ability to get a phone line into Oakville Hydro. And I'm wondering if on your list of things in postmortem, if we can potentially look at a partnership between the Communications Centre at Oakville Hydro and Service Oakville, because Service Oakville is just so awesome that I'm sure that by wrapping up some of the capacity on that day, we could be great help to Oakville Hydro in being able to respond to some of those issues. I don't think it was a crisis, but I think it added some frustration where people, are being told to report problems, but they can't get through the lines, because we were seeing that on social media a lot that day. You're telling us to report it, but I can't report it. So that's only one comment or one criticism for the whole thing.
Yeah, Councillor, thank you for that. In fact, in our postmortems, although communications on, overall was quite good, there is a significant opportunity to improve that's been identified here, in that we aren't, and we haven't decided yet what the best solution is, but it's clear that the way phone systems work is only so many calls can go through to anywhere. So it demands a call center. And if you think out the logic of that, we really need to work harder on the one call does it all approach that we've already launched with 311. And we just need to sit down and rethink how the calls that, so in one hypothetical solution of this, 311 becomes the number for everything, and it takes care of communicating with the various other parts of the system, and we don't tell people to go phone a switchboard that we know can't handle hundreds of phone calls at once.
I mean, with the modern advances in telephony, that's a simple thing to do, and it's a brilliant facility, because that also trying to communicate those two messages. Call 845-6001 for all of these, but 825-9400 for this one issue. It would have been so much easier just to pick up the phone and dial 311.
We've spent a huge amount of money on the one-call system of 311, and the key in an emergency or in a time of stress is capacity, and we have to start asking ourselves, how many call centers do we want to build? Right. And why don't we build one that can handle everything? So your executive management at both municipal corporations, Oakville and Halton, are going to be working on what is the best way to solve that problem in partnership with all the other people that need to be involved, including Oakville Hydro. So, but thanks for raising that. Councillor Lapworth is next. Hold on. I punched the wrong button. I apologize.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for Mr. Lister, if I may. Did you want to come up? Thank you. I heard on the radio this afternoon that the Toronto Hydro cost was in excess of $13 million, and that they have publicly said that they weren't going to pass any of that cost onto their subscribers, users. However, they did say that there may be some impact on the 2014 dividend. Are you able to make any comment at this time?
Well,
as far as Oakville Hydro is concerned?
I can't comment on Toronto Hydro, but at Oakville we're assessing the cost and looking at it as the costs come in, and it will have an impact on the dividend because it comes out of net income. Whether we pursue recovery through the Ontario Energy Board, we're assessing, so it's too early to determine whether we'll do that. But so at the moment it'll be just part of our financials for the year.
Okay, so we are a little bit too early at this time.
I'm sorry?
We are a little bit too early to decide at this time.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
But Mr. Lister, you could usefully speak to the Ontario Energy Board's history and normal practice with regard to these kinds of requests, just so everybody understands. And to a degree, I think you know a little bit more about the THC situation. You might want to give the public and council a better understanding of how this all works.
There is a mechanism through the Ontario Energy Board to recover unusual events and unusual weather events that contribute to significant costs fall into that category. And it's a application process that one goes through, and there's a fair amount of costs associated with going through that process. And then the Ontario Energy Board assesses whether it's appropriate to for the utility to recover those costs through customer rates. So at the end of the day, it does end up on a customer rate issue. And there hasn't been a lot of success in the province for companies going after that particular recovery process. And that would be a part of our determination, determine whether we thought we'd be eligible for something like that. In the Toronto Hydro case, relatively speaking, their costs were significantly higher, so the quantums are larger. Toronto Hydro has had a fair number of rate increases over the last number of years, and so there's probably some sensitivity to going after recovery that would, again, further the rate impact on the customers.
Thank you very much for fleshing that out like that. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Council, in the same vein, I can tell you that the Deputy Minister of Municipal Affairs briefed us at what I'll call the Storm Meeting of Mayors. And a mayor asked, there's a popular legend among mayors that that expresses a belief that's widespread in the municipal sector to the effect that if your damages are less than 4% of your revenues, the province takes the view that you ought to be able to handle it, you ought to be able to suck it up and handle it yourself. And the Deputy Minister explained that there was no such policy, but it did often look, as a result of provincial decisions on applications, as if the province might think that. So the mayors persisted, and we unanimously asked that the province create a special package of aid for the affected municipalities to make us whole to the financial strength that we had before the storm. And we took the extra step of asking the province to give us an answer by the 1st of March. So, and we have reason to believe that we'll get an answer by the 1st of March. So you haven't too long to live in suspense on the question. And in the meantime, the town manager might want to give you a little bit of assurance about our ability to handle our affairs should we have to look after ourselves entirely. I think, especially given the authorization that being asked to give, council might very much like to have some sense of our muscle.
Certainly, thank you, Mayor Burton. To council, there are a number of reserves that the town has kept in place. There's certainly a winter control reserve, which is operating, which currently is at its maximum limit. So, and it equates to 25% of our annual winter control program, and it's about $2 million at this time to handle the winter control side. We also, as council knows from the budget process, our mill rate stabilization, which in fact is there that if we need to deal with a large event without impacting the mill rate. So in terms of the overall coverage, we have the ability to work within our reserves, but of course that is not our first choice, and so we'll continue. My understanding, just speaking with the province today, they are preparing for this information to actually go to cabinet this week from all the various municipalities. So in terms of our own ability, should we have to go that route, we are able to do that, and that would form part of our report.
And it was with that in mind that the mayors agreed unanimously to frame the request in terms of making us whole. So that, you know, if you recognize that the timing, if you go back to the 1998-99 ice storm, we learned that, you know, the federal government made promises of aid, and the provincial government made promises of aid, and the provincial government fronted the federal government's promised aid, and lo, these many years later, has still not been paid back by the federal government. So, so if you'll think that through, you'll see that I believe we mayors framed it very well in terms of looking to the province to restore us to the status quo before, to our strength before the storm. And in the meantime, while we wait for all that to happen, we have the strength to look after our own affairs. But we, of course, one way or another, will then seek to rebuild those reserves for the next time. But that's what they're for. Councillor Khan.
I have another question for Commissioner Bell. Actually, before I get to that, I think, I'm not sure if I need a motion for reconsideration, but I am rescinding my offer to share my shower with Councillor Knoll. You know that's going to wind up as a soundbite in the next municipal election, Commissioner Bell? You know, I visited some of the community centers, Iroquois Ridge and the Glen Abbey, and I spoke to Councillor Elgar about that as well. What I found was that they had tables set up, they had mats set up, and that might be adequate for a day or even a few hours. But what's our plan on a long-term basis? There was no water, no nourishment. I was in Halifax when we had Hurricane Juan, and the first day everyone was friendly and everyone's, you know, the fridge is shut down, so everyone's barbecuing. By the third and fourth day, people got pretty nasty. So are we going to be looking at something like that going forward as well?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is actually handled through the region in terms of emergency planning. So what we would do is we would coordinate our efforts with them. The reason why we did not go into greater planning was because Oakville Hydro was doing an extraordinary job of getting people back up in terms of being energized for their households. So we did not see that there was an immediate pressing need. But had that gone on, we certainly would have coordinated actively with the region because we were talking to them on a regular basis.
Would the plan be had, you know, we needed how would we interact with the region in getting food or other medical supplies to those facilities?
Depending on the circumstances, it would either, the region itself would coordinate those kinds of efforts, or it would be done through the province, depending on the scope of what the disaster might be. But usually it's through the region, and they would coordinate the volunteers. They would coordinate if people were donating food and bedding and that kind of thing.
You know, Councillor, your questions put me in mind of the following suggestion. Would all of you like to have a special council meeting arranged for the emergency plan, the emergency planning that goes on in the town and the region to be presented to you? Perhaps a refresher for some of you, but for those who have not participated in that before, you might like to have an update. You might want to see how it all works and how the lowest level trips up to the next level, to the next level, to the next level as capacities are tested and breached. Would you like that? I'll set that up, and my office will coordinate with you to try to get a day when we can all be here. And that way the public will gain from it as well. All right. Anything else? Have I missed anybody? No, I think we got everybody. And I think almost everybody got a piece of this. So on behalf of council and the residents, I want to take a moment to reflect on the ice storm and the response that we saw here in Oakville. You know, at one time or another, 2/3 of Oakville Hydro customers experienced outages. My own house went out at 9:30 on Sunday morning, and I remember my wife thought it was a good time to get out candles and have fun until, oh, I don't know, late in the evening when it was dragging on a bit. She didn't like it as much then, and she wanted to know when we were going to get restored. And I told her that when you're the mayor, it's probably wise to be last. And so we were only out for 17 hours, but I think we were among the longest. And it was a very good experience, a lot of family bonding. And we also relied on the kindness of friends for dinner and a place to sleep. So when tested, Oakville responded on every level. I also want to thank Oakville Hydro and as well as our town staff for the incredible speed with which they met the challenge and got everybody back up. There's really two things about the response of our staff at town and Oakville Hydro that stand out for me. The first is, I hope people will let the speed with which everyone got them back show them in the most physical way possible just how good our staff at Oakville Hydro and the town really are, because I think that shines through here. You have a quality set of people working for you. And then the other thing that shouts at me is people gave up holiday time with their own families in order that residents would have a speedier return to a quality holiday time with their families. And that tells you how dedicated our staff are. And I hope that the memory of this will last for a long time. And I know that the monthly Community Leaders Roundtable that I host, I've heard from the Residents Association leaders those sentiments that I'm reflecting here tonight. And as the council discussion has shown, the town does have an ingrained instinct for continuous improvement. And we have identified that there is a valuable way, there's a valuable opportunity to improve been identified here, and that's in terms of making it possible for people to get the facts as to what's going on, even better than it was, with some kind of enhanced and better coordinated one-call does-it-all service. So it's a proud moment. We're going to carry all these lessons forward, and hopefully Mother Nature will not test us too soon. One per season is more than I can really look forward to, unless it's somebody else's house that goes 17 hours next time. So council, who would like to move and who would like to second the recommendation here on the report? Councillor Knoll and Councillor Khan, all those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. We now come to the Lynbrook School Site item and the report from the legal department. Mr. Carr, would you like to present your report?
Your Worship, I'm in council's hands. I have a short presentation if council would like.
I think a short presentation would be in order.
Right.
Council, of course, has read it, but thanks to Town TV, we have an audience that may not have.
Thank you, Mayor Burton. Staff are pleased to present the report to council, recommending the purchase and sale of the site of the former Lynbrook Public School for the purposes of a private boys' school with an enrollment cap at all times of no more than 180 students. Negotiations have been detailed and extensive, and staff believe the various components of the agreement, as set out in our staff report, achieve the objectives identified by Administrative Services Committee and confirmed by Council. The agreement does that in three main ways. First, and perhaps most importantly, by what it does not do, and that is that it does not include all of the lands owned by the town. The town will continue to retain ownership of the top portion of the site with the existing woodlot. It will remain in public ownership. Secondly, there are many express purchaser representations and warranties in the agreement. They include a representation and warranty that the site shall be operated at all times as a private school with enrollment, as I've said, at all times limited to 180 students, defined as the permitted use. That also is a requirement of the Committee of Adjustment decision, so it's a zoning requirement as well for that location. The agreement confirms public use of the outdoor space on the site. It defines business hours. There is a three-party agreement that has been entered into between Lynbrook and St. Mildred's, and if Council approves the agreement, the town will also be a party to that. That agreement sets out provisions for the shared parking of motor vehicles between St. Mildred's and Lynbrook School, shared bus services, and staggered drop-off and pickup times without overlap, and yearly monitoring. That is a separate agreement which is attached. There is required compliance with all approvals, terms and conditions imposed by the town, whether it be through Committee of Adjustment or site plan, which is coming forward to Site Plan Committee shortly, or by way of building permits or heritage permits or what have you. There is an agreement to use the site as a municipal voting station, which our clerk's department is very grateful for. There is a right of repurchase if there's any cessation of the permitted use. So that's a term of the agreement, and also a separate agreement as well. So that, in a nutshell, means that if at any time within the next 15 years the site ceases to be used as a private boys' school with an enrollment cap of 180 students, the town has the right to purchase the property back. And there's a right of first refusal should there be a third-party offer for the site. The town has the right to first purchase the property on any such agreement that may come forward. So all of those are representations and warranties in the agreement, and they are all registered restrictions that will run with the property. And thirdly, there will be registered easements on the site. So parts 2, 5, and 6, being the lands that are conveyed, will have an easement for the purposes of a public park, which will run with the land. And there will also be an easement over part 6 for maintenance purposes, so the town can get its maintenance vehicles to care for the woodlot, and also right of public access and egress. So we've put together what we think is a very good agreement, a very good deal for the town. We recommend it to you. We do think it's a strong agreement that maximizes financial value and affords the best protection to the local community. Those are my comments, Mayor Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Councillor Giddings has a question, and Councillor Kahn.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Burton. Solicitor Carr, you mentioned the use of the outdoor space. You mentioned it as an easement. Is that an easement or more of an understanding between the two parties?
It's, through you, Mayor Burton, it's both a term of the agreement, but it's also an easement that will be registered on title against parts 2, 5, and 6.
All right, thank you very much, and I'll happy to move that at the proper time.
Thank you, Councillor Giddings. Councillor Kahn?
Thank you, Council. With the greatest respect and confidence in Ms. Way, just being a skeptical lawyer here, what is our recourse in the event that one of these terms are breached? Do we have an arbitration clause, or where does this go?
Through you, Mayor Burton, the agreement contemplates a 30-day period where we would try to negotiate a resolution of any points of difference. And we are confident, based on our negotiations, that we can reach an agreement. If, however, it comes to an impasse, ultimately the town would have the right to purchase the property back.
So in other words, more powerful than arbitration is the take-back, right? Okay. So, Mr. Carr, I just have one question for you. Oh, Councillor Bird has a question.
I'll wait to at the end when the motion's on the table.
Can I have a seconder for Councillor Giddings' motion? Councillor Demoff, thank you. It's on the table, Councillor Bird.
Did you want a question of the staff at this point in time?
I have just a procedural question, and I think it could properly wait to the end.
I don't want to get too procedural. I don't certainly, and I don't want to replay the 2 evenings that we played in July. I did not support the sale or the reintroduction of a school, be it a boys' school or a private school or, quite frankly, a public school on that site at the time, and I'm not going to support it here. If I've got and I can give the few reasons why. I believe that what we are doing is contrary to the 1989 bylaw, which has to do with private schools in residential areas, and specifically, and the bylaw even specifically mentions Lynbrook School, or St. Mildred School. And as I mentioned before, a lot of people believe that that bylaw was put in place because of St. Mildred's. It was not. The genesis of the bylaw, looking at placement of private schools and daycare centers, etc., in residential areas, is a result of a complaint started up in Shipwright, up in Ward 6, where with the introduction of a daycare on a cul-de-sac, and we thought that we should go through the planning exercise and make sure that we are, I'm not revisiting our new zoning bylaw, where we're trying to go through the same exercise throughout the town. But clearly, we came up with a solution, and if you read the bylaw, it mentions that it had the effect of making non-conforming St. Mildred's because of the functionality of the road is correct, and that's the problem. The thing of Lynbrook Road, it is unique. It's functioning as an arterial road, but in fact, it's only 15 meters wide. And it, as I mentioned before, you only have to take a look at, and it gets down to the issue of location, which we're trying to do. And location where you've got 3 roads in southeast Oakville, east-west roads. One of them is Lynbrook that connect east-west, and that's performing the function of at least 4 or 5 roads on the other side of town. There's function the same as Rebecca, but it's just the way we can blame it, Township or Trafalgar and whatever it is. But you've got a road that is too small to accommodate what we're trying to do. Now, we went through this before with the expansion and the finger pointing, and I admit there is a lot of benefits to what we're doing. It's the first time ever that the town legally and I guess contractually has their hands in trying to address the through traffic problem as created by these 2 businesses, one across the road from the other, that happen to be in the school business. In the past, in the last 25, and I mentioned 1989, that's just a clear thing because you can see how long we've been trying to deal with this land use problem throughout the town, but specifically here. But we've been blaming St. Mildred's, saying, well, it was blaming it on Lynbrook, and Lynbrook on St. Mildred's. St. Mildred's, we had no problem when it was only one classroom. But as it grew, the problem grew as well. So now we've come up with the idea, and I like the idea, that the town has decided that there is some correlation with the number of students, how they get to school, whether they walk or come by other modes of transport, and the space we've got to put to accommodate them in. And we're suggesting, I think we've got 530 is the number we've capped at St. Mildred's. And now we're going to add another 180 to their cap, and so we're up to around about 700 students, and we're got a sort of a 15-year window, as I see it, to make sure that the traffic still functions. So I like that idea that the town is going to be involved. I also like the suggestion of the Ratepayers Association that we somehow have a venue for the residents who may have some disbenefits of now the extra couple hundred students that are to come and the related traffic issues on their property. Now, the reason I'm also going to vote against it, it's a personal issue. I was involved with the former residents group that was dealing with the issue of students in this area, which was called, the acronym was NAME, Neighbors Against Mildred Expansion. And I wondered, quite frankly, why they didn't come out on this issue. Now, the reason they didn't come out on this issue, some of them have passed on, and some of them have decided to move on. And so the original executive that was heavily involved in the current agreement capping the enrollment at St. Mildred's of their expansion plan are no longer there. And as I said, the ratepayers today, or I guess that specific group, there was no ratepayer association at that point in time. There is now. Surveyed the area, and the neighborhood is split. And believe me, I believe it is split. Not everyone is embracing this, and they have some angst of how this is going to work out and the agreement. In fact, Your Worship, we got an email today from a resident that has some very specific questions and concerns, and I think that I don't want staff to address them. They're not addressed in the report, but he does have the report and has some additional questions. So having said all that, I know I can read the tea leaves. Council is willing to, wants this facility on that site. St. Mildred's, for the first time ever, are prepared to assist in making the function of what their operations coincide with what we had Lynbrook School. That didn't happen before. You had appeared to have two different agreements as far as hours of operation and times of classrooms and whatever it is. I like that, trying to work together to make this thing work, because quite frankly, if it doesn't work, it is going to be a traffic headache for a long period of time, and quite frankly, looking at the area, there is no solution. One of the solutions is to create a new route around, and Councillor Giddings, I think, was newly councillor when we tried that out with the rebuilding of Lynbrook Road. And believe me, the people on Melvin and Cynthia and whatever it is were not enamored by suddenly waking up and having traffic on their street that wasn't there before. So there's a lot of new people in the area, I don't think experience. We are all going to clearly for the next 15 years, hopefully live, and there's going to be peace in our time with the 700 some odd students that come there that are going to presumably enjoy their academic life on the site. It's a beautiful site, it's a beautiful location, it's a beautiful neighborhood. But I have real concerns, and I do believe the central land use study had it right in their recommendations. I believe the staff had it right in their recommendations what should be going on this land, and I believe the current bylaw regulating this has it right, and we shouldn't do it. But it's the wish of council to do it. I notice most of the members of council also want to serve for the next 4 years on this council, so you'll also I hope you don't have it, you may come back and come up with solutions to it didn't work, and I hope you don't have to buy it back in the next time. But as I say, a solution is going to come up now that has not been thought of in the last 25 years. And so good luck, Godspeed, but I will not support it.
Thank you, Councillor Bird. Now I have a number of other councillors who've suddenly been prompted to speak again. Let me go to one who hasn't yet, Councillor Elgar.
No, Your Worship, I just want to mention, I think about 50 minutes ago, Councillor Bird mentioned that Shipwright Road was in Ward 6. In fact, it is in Ward 4, just for those who live in Shipwright.
North Oakville, I'm sorry, Shipwright, sorry, it's not Ward 6. I don't spend a lot of time up there, and I'll for this on Lynbrook, you don't spend a lot of time down my ward.
Well, my goodness, that's almost a burn. Councillor Khan.
A question for our council. I just wanted them to, Mr. Carr, to clarify something, because Ms. Morowitz referred to it as well, and so did Councillor Bird, about the ratepayers meeting with the school. That is something that's not being endorsed by this council. We're not voting on that, and that's completely an informal arrangement as between them. Am I correct?
Yes, through you, Mayor Burton, that's not a subject of our staff report before you tonight.
Councillor Lapworth.
Yeah, the question I have is the woodlot. What percentage of the total site represents the woodlot?
Through you, Mayor Burton, I couldn't offer a precise percentage this evening. I can undertake to get that. I mean, just eyeballing it myself, I would say it's at least a third of the site.
That's good, thank you.
All right. If that's, now I have a procedural question. Councillor Bird, did you want to go?
No, I just wanted a recorded vote so I can go on record. I believe that it means quite a bit to me, especially to those people that we worked in with name a number of years ago, notwithstanding some of them, as I mentioned, have passed on and some of them moved on.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bird. Of course, we'll oblige you with that. Mr. Carr, I'd like to know how much of the confidential information can be made public after we've approved the deal, and if there's more that can be, when we can.
Mayor Burton, the only information that is confidential at the moment is relating strictly to the financial information, which is the purchase price and the amount of the deposit. It's not a term of the agreement that information must be maintained as confidential by this council. So I think after council accepts the offer, it's free to make that information public.
Just a point of information. Let's just say that we...
Councillor?
Sorry.
If you wouldn't mind letting me chair. Do you have a question for the solicitor?
I do.
Please ask it.
Thank you. Here's my concern with what you've just said. Let's say that we accept the offer, and there's a certain period where they have to do their due diligence, and the offer for some reason falls. Revealing that price, will that not prejudice the purchaser or benefit future purchasers?
Councillor, if you'll think about what he said, it's council's decision to release the information. And releasing the decision is not, that question is not before us now.
Well, my question was a legal question, whether or not we should be disclosing that information.
We're not about to disclose anything right now. There's no proposition before you to disclose the information.
Well, Your Worship, you asked our council whether or not we could release certain parts of the confidential information. My point to that is that it might not be in our best interest to be releasing the financial information.
The piece I'm trying to draw your attention to is we're not deciding to release that information now. We will take that decision at another time.
That's all I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me clarify that. I didn't want you to have a minute of doubt that I was going to expose us to any jeopardy here. I just wanted to give the public who are interested in the question some comfort to know that in due course they will know, or they could know, depending on the decision of council. At the appropriate time, I will recommend to you that you make it public. Okay? With that,
That's all I wanted. Thank you.
okay, you're welcome. Any other, then I'll call the vote. We're having a recorded vote. It's Moved by Councillor Giddings, seconded by Councillor Demoff, and if you support the motion, please rise to be named. Councillor Khan, Councillor Adams, Councillor Knoll, Councillor Lapworth, Councillor Elgar, Mayor Burton, Councillor Giddings, Councillor Demoff, Councillor Robinson, and Councillor Johnston. To register your vote against, please rise to be named. Councillor Bird. The matter carries. Now, Council, we have two confidential discussion items. Both of these are, well, one of them I'm not sure you really need to go into camera for. Let me check my assumption here. On item C2, is there anyone who needs to go into camera to discuss that, or is it pretty self-evident what we need to do? Councillor Johnston believes it's self-evident enough to move it. If one of you will second it, Councillor Robinson. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That confidential item is taken care of. And what we just did is we approved that the execution of documents related to the settlement of litigation with Imperial Oil Limited and the purchase of 445 Trafalgar Road, including a final release of the insurer to the satisfaction of the CAO and the town solicitor, has been authorized. So that's now been taken care of in public. Now the other item, C1, is a bargaining update on Oakville Transit, which has become a matter of some public interest. I believe that if I anticipate correctly, you will want to go into camera for this, and this is a permitted use of a meeting closed to the public. And so if you agree, we need a mover and seconder for this motion, that Council resolve into a closed meeting session for the purpose of dealing with a matter pertaining to labor relations or employee negotiations regarding confidential item C1. And I can assure the public that's the last item of business on this agenda, so they won't miss anything if they leave us now on Town TV. I need a mover and a seconder. I had Councillor Giddings and Councillor Knoll. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, and that is carried. Madam Clerk, could you arrange the room for a meeting closed to the public? All right, Council will now resume its public session, and I can report to the public that Council resolved to go into a meeting closed to the public for the purpose of dealing with a matter pertaining to labor relations or employee negotiations regarding confidential item C1. And that's in accordance with the Municipal Act. I'd like now to suggest a mover and seconder for the report that the verbal report for the resolution, that the verbal report by the Human Resources Department be received. Councillor Robinson and Councillor Lapworth, all in favor, opposed if any, and that is carried. Now, that will bring us to new business, and I'm not aware of any new business, but we also, and then we'll go to requests for reports. Do you have new business, Councillor? Councillor, new business.
Your Worship, this is really a note of congratulations for Credit Valley Conservation. And it's with a little bit of honor that I got to bring the proclamation that you proclaimed not long ago to their Board of Directors meeting back on January 17th. And I'd like to read it out because we spent a long time tonight talking about a storm, an ice storm, and the conservation authorities all came about because of another storm many years ago. And that was Hurricane Hazel. And this is a proclamation about the 60th anniversary of Credit Valley Conservation. And so this proclamation is for Credit Valley Conservation Day, which will be May 13th, 2014. And it reads, whereas the Credit Valley Conservation Authority was established 60 years ago on May 13, 1954, and whereas it was established at the request of, among others, the former Peel County municipalities of Port Credit, Toronto Township, Streetsville, and City of Brampton, to assist in dealing with issues related to pollution, flooding, and resource management within the Credit River watershed. And whereas since its inception, Credit Valley Conservation has continued to work in partnership with municipalities, community groups, and landowners to further the goal of an environmentally healthy river for economically and socially healthy communities. And whereas the town of Oakville is a partner in the protection and management of the Credit River watershed. Now therefore, our mayor, Rob Burton, mayor of the town of Oakville, has hereby proclaimed that May 13th, 2014 be observed as Credit Valley Conservation Day in the town of Oakville. And it is signed by yourself, Mayor of Oakville, Mayor Rob Burton. So I wonder if our staff would be able to zoom in on that from up above. Maybe you can give me and you've got a camera, you can give me the thumbs up once they've been able to do that. If they're able. There we are. Good, thank you very much. So, so on behalf of yourself and all of this council, it's with a lot of happiness that I get to make that proclamation here, and I will again bring this back to their board so that it can be placed in a position of great honor in the Credit Valley headquarters.
Well, thank you very much. I know that you work hard to inspire them to live up to Oakville's standards with regard to the environment. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to take a moment to actually congratulate you on your new position as Chairman of the Halton Regional Police Service Board, and just tell you how much I look forward to working with you over the next year as we tackle the issues to keep Halton Region the safest region in Canada.
Thank you very much, Councillor. 5 years in a row. You know, we should start praying that we can keep that going. It's going to look very bad if we don't. But thank you very much. I appreciate that, and you're great to work with on the board there. I understand we have some requests for reports this evening. I know of two. Councillor Robinson?
Well, Your Worship, I believe the one that Councillor Johnson and I are involved in has to first be followed under the agenda item, information items, and I'm therefore requesting that that particular item referred to in our agenda as page number 58 from Ann Sargent of the Bronte BIA, Bronte BIA Parking Committee be separated.
All righty.
At this point.
Separated.
And we will have the motion for a report.
Okay, so I'm not sure separation is exactly the right, but I'll work with you here. Councillor Robinson wants to call your attention to page 59 of the information items in your packet, 59 and 60, which is a letter from the Bronte Village BIA, the Bronte BIA Bronte Parking Committee. It's labeled. And Councillor Robinson, did you want me to read this letter, or what did you want to do about it?
Well, I presume that all members of council have read the letter because it's been in their agenda package, and all that Alan and I would like to do is have our request for a report read by you, as you usually do, and then passed by council.
Okay, council, you heard the councillor. His request for report, which is seconded by Councillor Johnston, reads that staff be requested to report back on the 4 recommendations of the Bronte Parking Committee as contained in the Bronte Village BIA's letter dated January 17th, including a review of the potential financial and staffing impacts to the town. All those in favor of authorizing the report? Any against? That carries. Congratulations, councillors. You have added to the staff's workload. You have successfully added to the workload. We also have, Council, a request for a report from Councillor Giddings and Councillor Bird. And that request for a report requests that staff investigate and report back to Council on the decorative address pillar structure encroachment in front of 149 Balsam Drive, and to identify what options are available to address it. Councillor Giddings.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Burton. This is a small structure that was constructed by the homeowner on our road allowance. And so we're just looking for our friends in engineering and construction to report back, and so they can bring it before us.
Thank you. Even though I doubt this is going to take more than 2 hours of staff time, and so it doesn't really need a request for report, I'm sure that staff will oblige you by looking into the encroachment. So, Mr. Green, if I understand the facts, you know this case. Thank you. So all in favor of the request for report? Opposed? That is approved. Now, since we're in such a productive mood, how about we have a mover and seconder for the bylaws? Councillor Robinson, Councillor Knoll. This is the consideration and reading of bylaws 2014-06 and 31. And all those in favor? Opposed, if any, and the bylaws are carried. That completes our agenda. Thank you for your time and attention. It's been great working with you, and we are adjourned.